Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother have my house for his wedding? I have younger brothers, and one of them I've always gotten along with really well. Until his girlfriend came along. It was a gradual change in our relationship. But I think my brother made a mistake of making some fair/unfair comparisons between her and me. For example, I've overheard him and his girlfriend in a heated argument when she was trying to quietly hiss angrily at him for praising his sister's cooking, my cooking, more than her cooking. But it is their relationship, and I haven't ever gotten involved in those niggles, even though I am aware of them. Anyway, they got engaged recently, and while my brother's family is here, all of her family needs to travel here for the wedding. When they got engaged and came over to our house to break the news to us, we congratulated them, and then my brother said that they had something to ask us. His fiancée then asked if we could move out and live with my parents for 3 weeks, while they used our house for her family to stay in, both before and after the wedding. I have a lovely big house that I live in close to the city with my husband and 5 children. Plenty of rooms, pool and gardens, which we have spent years establishing. My kids catch the bus to school from here, a 10-minute bus ride, and I work from home, and my husband works about 10 minutes drive away. My parents, on the other hand, live another 40 minutes away on rural acreage. And while we have stayed at their house every now and then with our children, we have never stayed more than a weekend. Anyway, after I got over the initial shock of her request, with my brother just sitting there nodding his head, I said no, it wouldn't be possible, though I would love to be able to help them with their wedding in other ways, and I suggested we could host a family gathering at ours. I tried to explain that it is not suitable for my family with 5 kids to stay with my parents for 3 weeks. We have school, work logistics, and my parents are getting older, and probably would not be able to cope with 5 noisy kids around all the time. It did not go down very well at all. My brother started angrily telling me that I was being very rude and unhelpful, and that this was only for 3 weeks and would save them a lot of money accommodating all of her family. His fiancée walked out yelling behind her that she always knew I thought myself better than her. My brother followed her out, and my husband and I were left to sit there, in shock at what just transpired. Am I being selfish for not wanting to do what they requested and move my family out of our home for 3 weeks? Edit. I should add that my brother knows that a couple years ago, my husband, my kids, and I willingly moved out of our house and into a caravan to travel around the country for 4 months. So I can see why he would think it would be okay for us to move out for 3 weeks to my parents. He probably thinks we could have a little bit of a staycation, and my parents' property has far more space than what we had when we were traveling around in a caravan. But him not having kids yet, he doesn't understand the school/work/aging parents side of things. So yes, I reckon he could see me as being quite selfish for not wanting to give up my convenient lifestyle at a time of his choosing. Now for the top comments. Only 3 weeks? Only 5 kids? Only your home? Only for some strangers you've never met? Why aren't you agreeing immediately? That sounds so reasonable. They are entitled jackwagons. This is why hotels and Airbnb exist. Not day-home. Not day-home. Who knows what an entire wing of a family could do or damage while you're roughly an hour away for nearly a month? Damages they wouldn't bother helping repair because we're family now. Sounds like maybe sister-in-law lied about having a nice house, etc. with her husband-to-be. But the reality is, it's your house. Why else would they need you gone for so long, and why are they letting her family stay? To be so dismissive of the comfort of your parents, your brother's own parents, and the issue this could cost you and your children. Growing children need sleep. If you do this, they'd have to wake up more than an hour earlier to get to school and such on time. Also in some states, letting them stay for 3 weeks is legally giving them permission to be considered occupants of the house, and you need a heck of a lot of paperwork to evict multiple people. Sister-in-law's reaction to her calm refusal is also a bit suspect. Immediately accusing you of thinking so highly of yourself? I think someone's projecting. Even if they calm down and apologize, don't do it. This is a headache waiting to happen, and you offering to help them in other ways was more than enough. They're entitled. I had the same thoughts about the fiancé lying about the house. She sounds like a peach. Yes, yes, yes on the occupancy issue. Opie needs to check out what the local laws are to have that knowledge in her back pocket. This comment is right on it. Not day home. What the holy hell? Not day home. She has some nerve, and your brother isn't much better. If any more conversation comes up, just tell them no, and there will be no further discussion. Not they home. They ask, they got an answer. If they had asked if they could live with you for 3 weeks, I could have seen where they were coming from. But asking your huge family to just go and live with your parents because they said so? Yeah, no. Not today home. Since when is your home a hotel anyone else is entitled to use? Besides, I wouldn't do it even if your parents lived down the street. Do you know these people? How can they guarantee that your things would be respected? How are they going to pay for any damage/repairs? Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out on a bachelorette party when I'm the maid of honor? I went to a bachelorette party in Atlantic City. After a 4-hour drive, the bride, we'll call her Melissa, could not be bothered to get out of her seat and give me a hug or introduce me to the other girls. No one made any effort to get to know me at dinner. When the bill came, the girls said we'd split it evenly, which wasn't fair to me because I don't drink alcohol, and they all ordered multiple drinks. There were 11 girls, and I didn't want to be the only one who didn't want to split the bill. So I ended up having to pay $65 for my $13 meal. Then we went to a nightclub. When we got out around 2 a.m., my ears were ringing so much. I couldn't sleep that night. Despite not sleeping, I got up early Saturday because we were going to an escape room at noon. I made the entire house breakfast so the girls could eat quickly and we could make it on time. But they overslept and we missed it. Then we got brunch, and the ride over was a nightmare. I should mention I was appointed designated driver. Half the girls took an Uber since my car only seats 5 people, and the other half went with me, including Melissa. It was storming in AC, and the streets were flooded. I'm talking water up to my thighs. I didn't think my old car would make it. The girls could see what kind of car I drive. I decided to complain about how they can't file their taxes jointly with their husbands because their combined income would be over $400,000, all while I chauffeured them. Not only was splitting the bill unfair to me because I don't drink, but since I was driving everyone around, I was the only one paying for gas and parking fees. They insisted on splitting the brunch bill too, so I had to pay $45 for my $15 lunch. After the rain stopped, we went to the boardwalk to do a scavenger hunt. Melissa chose the teams, and she didn't even put me on her team. I'm her maid of honor, and yet she didn't want to spend that extra time with her best friend. Then the girls wanted to get drinks on the boardwalk, where I was again excluded from conversation. I was the only quirky girl amongst sorority types. We were scheduled for a booze cruise with an arrival time of 5:30 p.m., so as it started nearing 5, I said we should get going. But the girls wanted to finish their drinks, and we had to scramble to get out of there. Again, half the girls took an Uber, and the other half went with me, but we couldn't find my car. Melissa started flipping out about missing the cruise, so the girls took an Uber and ditched me in the parking garage. At this point, I broke down and started sobbing. I drove back to the Airbnb, $450 per person, and packed up my stuff. I left around 9 p.m. and drove through the night. No one texted me to see if I made it home. Melissa hasn't talked to me since. I guess she's mad at me for leaving. Am I the a-hole for leaving? Did I overreact? Not today home. They took advantage of you all night, and then had the audacity to ditch you in a parking garage after you have been footing the bill for half of the transportation and part of their meals beyond what you actually owed. If I were you and she doesn't reach out, I wouldn't even go to the wedding based on how she has treated you. You deserve better and an apology. They've essentially been treating you as a tag-along chauffeur. Thank you. I completely agree with you. At this point, I think I will still go to the wedding though, because I already paid for my bridesmaid/maid of honor dress and my hair appointment. I may as well get the fancy wedding dinner at the very least. I'm not an entitled person at all, but so far I've gotten nothing out of this and have just been used and discarded. If you go, do your thing, and get your meal until you got all you need, then dip out. You were used and used and used. Time for you to be your own advocate. Alternatively, if you have another close friend nearby, maybe consider using your dress and fancy hair and go out for a nice evening/dinner with a friend who actually appreciates you instead of the wedding. That way nothing goes to waste, and you don't have to be around people who only want you around if you can be their step stool. Not stay home. The fact that she didn't even bother to check up on you after ditching you and then having you disappear into the night shows that she doesn't really care. And this is one of those friendships where you might have just outgrown each other. Thank you for your comment. I do agree that we've outgrown each other. She's used me time and time again, and I'm finally putting my foot down. I'm just sick of this. I give so much to my friends, and people use me for my kindness and empathy. She doesn't care about me at all. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my boyfriend's vegan daughter for forcing her to eat shawarma? My boyfriend, 42, father of Megan, 16, and I, 37, widow with twins, 10, have been together for 2 years now. He is awesome. We don't live together, but we see each other a lot. My girls love him, and we've quickly become one family. However, Megan and I have a bit of tension between us, but we're working on it. Last week, I've arranged a backyard cookout with family and friends. I've invited my boyfriend and Megan. He accepted the invitation, but Megan was like, cookout. Not sure. Meat and whatnot. She's 100% vegan and goes by the nickname Megan the Vegan. Anyway, she said she wasn't coming, and I said no problem. I got busy with guests, and the main dish was grilled chicken shawarma. To my surprise, Megan showed up with my boyfriend and went straight to sit with her phone watching YouTube. He asked my boyfriend why he didn't give me the heads up, and he said he called, but clearly my phone was inside the entire time. Everyone grabbed their plates and I started serving them shawarma one by one. Then Megan showed up in front of me extending her empty plate for me to fill. I felt confused at first. I asked if she was going to have shawarma like the others, and she said, "Ew, no," and proceeded to say she expected me to have something vegan to grill. I was like, "I'm sorry, what's that?" She made a face and went on a long detailed explanation about the vegan grill recipes I could have made to include her in the gathering. I said I didn't even know she was coming, let alone know that she wanted specific vegan grill recipe. I said shawarma was all I had, and directed her towards salad/appetizers to choose from. But she pitched a hissy fit about how I made zero effort to include her in the party. Even worse, I was basically forcing her to eat shawarma, but not preparing a vegan recipe for her knowing she's vegan and can't eat meat. I argued that this wasn't true, and that it wasn't my fault she decided to show last minute and at least could have brought something to eat. She said, "Daddy called you like 100 times already, and you probably purposely avoided answering since you probably had nothing prepared for me and didn't even want me to come in the first place." She put the plate down and sat watching us eat, saying I excluded her from even sitting at the table with us, even though she herself said she didn't want to sit and watch us eat meat. It was not cool. Mood 100% ruined. She refused to speak to me or say goodbye before leaving. Just kept claiming I made her go hungry at my home and disrespected her lifestyle by directly forcing meat on her. My boyfriend said it was just miscommunication, but I stated I'm not required to cook for her. She wanted me to apologize for the poor experience, but I refused. Now for the comments. Not day home. Welcome to the teenage years. Her father should have handled her attitude. He's probably got plenty of vegan food at his home he could have brought instead of relying on Opie to cater for a dietary lifestyle. She didn't know she had to provide for the event. Based on her behavior in this instance, I'm betting Megan didn't get her nickname because she's the nicest vegan. Not day home. It would be different if she had said she was coming, but since her father wasn't getting a reply, if it was that important, they could have grabbed her vegan whatever on the way. Your boyfriend sucks for not telling her to shut her mouth and quit being an insufferable brat. She could eat salad or whatever. She chose not to. That is correct, and I agree with you. Thanks for your input. Yeah, Megan the Vegan pulled this one on purpose. Frankly, anyone with dietary restrictions wanting to attend a function should never expect to be catered to. They should bring their own food, and if there are options for them provided, that is great. Agreed. I feel this was on her and my boyfriend. I've never cooked for her before, so I'm not sure why she was expecting me to cook this time. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's sister it should be him she holds accountable and not me? This is going to sound kinda crazy, but here goes. I, 40 female, had a son last year, and I spent the whole time not knowing I was pregnant. My husband and I have tried to have baby for 6 years to no avail. I was diagnosed with endo and PCOS, which we were told would make it incredibly difficult. We tried fertility medication, and it didn't help. After 6 years, we were just too broken by it all, that we took a break and then decided we just needed to focus on being child-free and happy. It was tough, and for years I was so unhappy. But I longed to have a baby of my own, and knew it wouldn't be fair to adopt when I was so hung up on that connection. It was June of last year when my son was born. A week before, I started getting terrible back pains, followed by cramping and vomiting. My husband brought me to the hospital on the advice of our doctor, and that's when we were told I was giving birth. My stomach was flat, but I had no cravings, felt no movement. I ended up needing a C-section because where he was made it difficult for him to come out without harm to both of us. I'm summing it up because my birth story would not fit the character limit. We were in shock, but considering my son was healthy and I recovered well within the first week, we got lucky. Everyone was stunned. Family, friends, us most of all. Anyway, now on to the point. Everyone was just so happy for us and seemed to celebrate the fact we had our own surprise baby. But a couple of weeks ago at my husband's parents' house, my husband's sister straight up said she believed I knew and didn't tell her, and how pissed she was at me for keeping it to myself. My husband told her she was being ridiculous. She told me I owed it to her to tell her she was becoming an aunt. Then I asked her why she was blaming me instead of my husband. She said that I didn't tell him either. I told her I would have told my husband had I known, and if she honestly believes I knew all along, then he would have known too. And she should direct her anger and accountability at him because I didn't owe it to her to tell her. He would be the one to owe her that in a sense. She is claiming I made it sound like she's nothing. But she's only my in-law. She is his sister is the way I look at it. So it should be more on him than me for playing this weird blame game she wants to play. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's making this about her when it's not. Tell her to Google cryptic pregnancies and shut the hell up. Not the a-hole. But to be honest, just don't play into this weird freaking breakdown she's having. Don't entertain it at all. You're right that Opie shouldn't entertain crazy sister-in-law's theory. If you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at your brother is such a weird reaction. Not the a-hole. You had a surprise baby. While not common, it does happen. Next time she brings it up, blame her for not telling you that you were pregnant. She'll be all like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Exactly. We didn't know as much as you didn't know. You owe it to her to tell her she's becoming an aunt. Would have been nice to know you were becoming a mom too. Lol. Congratulations on your new baby.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to have anything to do with my cheating dad or the baby he made while cheating? Last year, my mom found out my dad was cheating on her with his friend's sister, and the friend's sister was pregnant. I, 20 male, was in college and found out about it after mom had kicked him out and filed for divorce. My dad has not accepted the end of his marriage to mom, and even now that the divorce is final, he's still trying to convince her to take him back. Between finding out and hearing from both of my parents, I knew I was done with dad after that. I told him he was disgusting and that he needed to not contact me. I blocked his number and carried on with my life without him. Even when I heard the baby was born, I didn't have a change of heart. This didn't change when I was told dad had custody of the baby either, and the baby's mom was out of the equation. A big part of this was because my dad was really trying to harass my mom into taking him back, and he even showed up with a baby at her job and her house and tried to say that we could all be a family again, only with an extra kid. I hated dad for doing that to her, and she was stressed. My dad never used social media before, so I didn't have him blocked, but a few weeks ago I did block his new account when he reached out to ask me to have a relationship with him and the baby. I replied with F off before blocking him, but then he suddenly had 2 more accounts, and on the last one, he was like, "Please, I love you and we're still family, blah blah blah." He said we needed each other, and it didn't look like mom would take him back. I told him he didn't deserve it, and why would she want to raise his kid with someone else? And why would I want to know his kid with someone else? I told him he needs to accept that he lost me, and there's no changing that, because to do that, he would need to go back and not cheat. Then I blocked the final account. That was meant to be the end of it, but my uncle, dad's brother, decided to speak in defense of dad. He told me dad was a bad husband but a good dad, and that should count more for me. He told me whether I like it or not, I have a little half-sister now, and need to think about being in her life. He asked me to consider what would happen if I got the call tomorrow that dad died. I told him I'd carry on living my life and would refuse to be a part of that. That ticked him off, and he told me I'm being overly harsh about it. I think he's defending my dad too much, and I told him that. He said Dad cheated, but he didn't physically harm anyone. I pointed out that he could have caught anything while cheating, and he did go and make a baby with someone else. My uncle said the baby is a good reason to work on letting it go because she needs more family. I told my uncle to drop it because I will never want either my dad or the baby in my life. He told me I was old enough to be more mature and less of an a-hole to the innocent, and at an age where I should stay out of my parents' relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. This: Dad lost his affair partner and was saddled with a baby and wants to play happy family in a house that he single-handedly nuked. OP not the a-hole, but Dad sure is. The way my dad keeps trying to get Mom to take him back just shows us why we need to keep him far away. He doesn't care about Mom's feelings, and he might not even care if his baby would be loved and wanted, or if she'd be hated and rejected as long as he can get back in. He's taking a huge risk with her by asking Mom, because why would she love and want that baby? But maybe that's not a big deal to him. He wants a babysitter and someone to take care of the child because he doesn't want to. Your father should have considered the repercussions before deciding to cheat on your mother. Not the a-hole. It would have been a wise move on his part, but he doesn't seem too capable of those. Not the a-hole. How are you and your mom doing? He cheated with his friend's sister, so I'm assuming your dad knows that family, and they should provide family support. And he clearly has a brother that's okay with infidelity, so that's one more person for his daughter's family unit. And none of them are you and your mom. I wish you and your mom the best. My mom's really stressed because Dad won't leave her alone. I know she called the cops twice and went to a lawyer to see what she could do to keep him away. Right now, that's nothing. They don't want to know. I'm doing okay, disgusted with him and trying to be there for Mom, and I feel awful she's dealing with his manipulative attempts to win her back. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be the default babysitter just because I'm the only one in the family without kids? I'm 27 female, and I'm the youngest in my family. I have 2 older sisters, both in their 30s, who each have 2 kids. Every family get-together lately has turned into, can you just watch the kids for a bit while we catch up? And a bit somehow becomes the entire afternoon. I love my nieces and nephews, but I don't go to family events to be a free babysitter, while everyone else relaxes with a glass of wine and talks about Bridgerton. I just want to eat some food and gossip with the adults too. Last weekend, I came to a barbecue, and the second I walked in, I got handed a diaper bag and told, "You're on kid duty." I literally hadn't even taken off my shoes yet. So this time, I said, "Nope, not today," and just sat down with my plate of food like everyone else. Cue the drama. One sister said I was being selfish and don't understand what it's like being a mom. The other tried to guilt-trip me with, "You have no responsibilities. You should help." Huh? Because I'm single and child-free, I owe them free childcare? Now the group chat is cold, and my mom says I could have helped a little to keep the peace. But I feel like if I keep saying yes, they'll never stop treating me like the built-in babysitter. I wasn't rude, I just said no. Am I the a-hole for drawing a line? You're within your rights to keep saying no. Your sisters are being ridiculous. No is a complete sentence. Your mom is wrong for encouraging you to essentially be a doormat. Even if they needed help, there are better ways to ask for it rather than being d-heads. You're not the free family slave because you have no kids. Thanks for this. Honestly, that line, "no is a complete sentence," hit me hard. I've always felt kind of pressured to just smile and go with it because I didn't want to start drama. But I'm realizing now that keeping the peace shouldn't always come at my expense. And yep, the way they just expect it now is what really bugged me. I wouldn't mind helping if they actually asked nicely and didn't treat me like the built-in nanny. Appreciate your comment. It made me feel way less crazy for finally saying no. Maybe their husbands should have stepped up. Yes, dads can parent too. You know, I just don't get it. When my kids were young, adults now, if we went to a get-together, we both kept an eye on them. We had a loose rule that if my family, he'd step up more if I wanted a drink and vice versa. And all my siblings were the same. And in our in-law families as well, everyone I knew behaved this way. And that was in the 90s and early 2000s. I didn't think we were ahead of our time, so I don't understand fathers now that just don't step up. I could have helped a little to keep the peace. Why is it that in order to keep the peace means I have to bend over? Everyone else is peaceful when I'm raging internally. Peace comes when it's at my expense. F that. You all can watch your own damned kids, not the a-hole. Oh my god, yes, that part hit me hard. Keep the peace basically just meant don't rock the boat, even if you're drowning quietly. It's always on the easygoing one to suck it up. I swear if I had $1 every time I was expected to be the chill one just so others could have it easier, I'd be rich and babysitter free, haha. Thank you for getting it. It's honestly so validating to know I'm not crazy for setting one small boundary. Is there any reason your mom couldn't help out to keep the peace? Because mom and dad want to catch up with their girls, and they can't do that with kids in the way. And OP doesn't count because she's still a teen. I know she's not, but to her parents she is, and she hasn't started a family yet. I bet if we keep giving her the kiddos, she'll see the error of her ways and start popping out grandkids for us. We'll teach her. Probably OP's parents' thoughts. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my plans for my sister's wedding anniversary? I'm a university student, and I moved to a bigger town 3 years ago. All my family stayed in my small town. Last year, I didn't visit them during summer vacation because I got a part-time job and wanted to raise some money. That same year, in August, my sister got married. I was not invited, and no one even texted me about it until a week later, when my mom asked, "Why didn't you congratulate her?" Then I explained to her that I had no idea she got married. A few months later, I learned that my aunt and sister still think I did it on purpose because I knew she was pregnant. I learned about her pregnancy from my mother too, because she, again, asked why I didn't congratulate her, and that I could have asked when the wedding would be. Also because my sister published photos from her wedding on her social media. This year, I was denied an internship and decided not to get a part-time job and to visit my family, because next summer I will try and apply for internships again. My sister said that since I'm here this summer, she would like me to attend her anniversary party and implied she wants to receive a gift. I said I can't attend because my plane leaves on August 20th. She suggested I buy another ticket and refund this one because she's inviting me a month in advance. And I was supposed to be considerate of her wedding anniversary when I bought my tickets. My attempt to explain that I already have other plans after August 20th with my friends, and that I bought tickets for those dates for a reason, fell on deaf ears. Now she's telling everyone that I bought tickets before her anniversary on purpose just to avoid attending and congratulating her, just like I did last year with her delivery date and wedding, all of which I learned about from my mother weeks after they actually took place. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. How are you supposed to attend an event no one tells you about? Now they are spreading lies about you. Ignore them all. Go have fun with your friends. I would consider the sister as an enemy at this point. After all, she is going around setting the OP up in order to make false accusations. I suspect she has some underlying perceived hang-up about OP. Not the a-hole. If someone doesn't invite you to an event, they, and their relatives, shouldn't comment on the fact you don't attend. I had a relative who did exactly that to me. It was such a shame that you didn't attend daughter's wedding. So few people from your side did. I just replied, puzzled but not offended or angry. But I wasn't invited. End of story. You can also have previous plans even if you are invited. You can tell your sister and anyone who repeats her complaints to you that, unfortunately, you had previous plans that could not be changed. Don't argue or debate the point. Just move on. Years ago, Uncle had party for cousins that my sibling and I found out about. When we saw everyone, including our step-sibling, tagged in photos on social media. It came up when I ran into one of them a few months later, and I flatly said I had no idea about it beyond seeing photos. Apparently, Bio-Dad told everyone he invited us and that we couldn't be bothered to attend. Cousin's mom has made it a point to keep us in the loop ever since that event. Not the a-hole. I firmly think that wedding anniversaries are between the couple, even big ones. They are not public celebrations where everyone needs to be in attendance. There is something really classless about asking other people to show up to celebrate your relationship. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not making sure my niece got on the plane home? My cousin's wedding was yesterday. Early this morning, we all left on our flights back home. Several of us had the same flights back. We had standby seats though, so we had to wait to the end to board. We also had one layover. We all got on the first flight no problem. Second flight everyone got on, except my sister's daughter Rachel, 18 female. We didn't find out until we all got off the flight that she didn't get on, and there were a bunch of texts from her saying she didn't know what to do. So her parents were all trying to figure out what to do, but the next flight in isn't until tomorrow, and they can't get her a hotel room because they require someone older to check in. So she's stuck alone in the airport terminal until the next flight. My sister, Rachel's mom, and dad think it's my fault because I was the last one called to board the plane. They think that I should have gone up and offered to let her have my seat first since she's basically still a kid and hasn't traveled on her own before. To be honest, I didn't even notice her there or who was left because I wasn't feeling great because I was hungover from the wedding. So I had my eyes closed the whole time and was just listening for my name and not really paying attention to who else had already been called. They all knew I was feeling bad too because they were making fun of me for it earlier. Still, they think I should have noticed that Rachel was still sitting there alone. But at the time, I just wanted to quickly get to my seat so I could sit down and close my eyes. Also, they're mad because they think that I had even confirmed that Rachel got on because when I passed by my sister and nephew's aisle, she asked, "All good?" and I gave her a thumbs up. I thought she was just asking if I was feeling okay, not asking if Rachel also got on. I kind of wonder why I ended up being the one responsible for her just because I was the last one there, which I asked them about because any of them could have asked if Rachel could take their seat first, but they said no because they all had work the next day while I didn't. Kevin's parents should know better, not the a-hole. Her parents were on the plane and they didn't make sure she was, and they are looking for somewhere to point an accusing finger, not the a-hole. Her mom, my sister, wasn't boarded first with her underage children. Her dad, brother-in-law, didn't travel for the wedding. My other sister and cousin were also on the flight though. Her mom left her there and did not tell you to look after her. She's just trying to pass the blame. Exactly, mom is responsible for her own kids. If her name gets called first and she has to take the younger kids to board, she walks with her 18-year-old daughter over to OP and explains the situation. Seriously, 18-year-olds should have been coached on what to do if we're separated since they all had standby seats. Or, mom gives her seat to the 18-year-old. The minor children are the 18-year-old's siblings, correct? 18 is an adult. She can accompany the minors, especially since there are other relatives on the plane who can assist the 18-year-old at the arrival airport. Not OP's fault that his sister planned poorly and flew herself and her kids standby when she had work the next day. Poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. Not the a-hole. Mom, 1, was being selfish by not giving her seat to her daughter, and 2, is trying to pass the buck on to OP. If she's not old enough to handle making her flights, her parents should have went with her. Not your responsibility to pick up the slack. They were on the flight, and so was her brother apparently. OP must be the family scapegoat. To be honest, until I was 21, I had a very difficult time getting a hotel room. A lot of places don't like to check anyone under 21 in. When I was 18, it took a partner and I 6 different hotels to find one that would let us stay on a road trip, because neither of us were 21.